Hello, my name is BJ Paris. Welcome to Tapping Into His Treasures. How is everybody? I hope you're all doing well. I'm doing well. I just got to get situated here. There. There. Well, we're waiting on a big snowstorm, a big nor'easter. We're supposed to get like 1 to 2 feet of snow. And it's crazy as this sounds, and you're going to hate me, but this is a writer's paradise. When we're barricaded in, some people make a trip up to New England, especially to Maine, just to find a mountain cabin so that they could write uninterrupted. And for the next 3 days, I'm going to be barricaded in this house, and I'm going to be at that keyboard until my eyes hurt. So, yeah, that's what we're facing. I do pray for everybody else, though. I just hope there's no slippery roads and no accidents. Oh, boy. God will be there to help. We'll be praying. So we're going to talk today about following God, but mostly we're going to talk about following God in circumstances and talking about how He keeps us. And we haven't really talked about a lot of testimonies in a long time, maybe just one at the beginning of the show. So today I picked out a few that I want to share with you, okay? All right. So you can't go wrong by following God because He doesn't make any mistakes. Would you agree? Sure you would. Sometimes we have a hard time understanding where He is taking us or why He is working in our lives the way He does. It may baffle us, but He knows what He's doing. He doesn't make any mistakes. Just a couple of hours ago, I read a post on Facebook by a young man that I know whose wife left him and is keeping their little boy from him. Well, I guess he has like supervised visits or something. He's a great young guy, and I've known him since he was a little guy, and my heart aches for him. And I've been through so much stuff myself, and I know that God does come through. And I know that God will come through for him too, as He does for all of you. And I'm praying for him. But I'm sure, as well as many others, he doesn't see it now. He's trusting God, but he just, in his short-sighted vision, because he's going through this, he can't see that there's going to be a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. You know, God brings treasures into darkness to everyone, whether they're born-again children of God, His children, or whether they're not. Because of His logistical grace on this earth, He does. He allows grace. He knows how much people could stand, how much they could take. And maybe hurting people don't recognize God as the one who is giving them the grace, but He is the one. I've been through so many horrendous trials through the years and talked about it on this show, how our greatest trial can become our greatest asset. And as true as that is, it's hard to swallow for many people. People will respond to life stories, however. So that's why I'm going to share some life stories with you today. And God has proven it in my life and the lives of my family and my friends. And I always like to give you some really recent ones, because they're the ones we just like to grab, the ones that happened like today or this morning or yesterday. So yesterday, I read on Facebook that my daughter-in-law posted she was having a bad day because of my grandson passing away. It's been 9 years now, and in the first few years after his death from an auto accident, they were, what's that word? Traumatized. They were traumatized. They weren't only grieving and hurting, they were traumatized. So even though, a few years went by, and now it's 9 years since he's gone to heaven to be with Jesus, the pain, she's having a different kind of a pain. It's getting worse and worse. Instead of getting a little better through the years, some things have gotten a little better, and she's been able to share with other people who have lost children. God's been using both she and my son in that capacity. But in other ways, with her growing older, it's affecting her even worse than it did in the beginning. So she was having one of those days yesterday. I'm sharing this to tell you how faithful God is. So she wrote something on there that she was having a bad day. So, and how easy it is to cry, even after all these years. So a lot of her friends were sending hugs and love and prayers, and that always helps an awful lot. But my son, he messaged me, I guess on Facebook or something, last night to tell me that he had her go up to his office yesterday, and I don't know if he did this on purpose or if God was behind it and he didn't even realize why he did it yesterday. But he had to go up to his office, and he's on My Heritage, which is like Ancestry, and he's been doing our family's heritage, for, I would say, close to a month now. And he told her that he was going to help her do hers too, because she can't really do anything like that on her own. I don't think I could do it on my own either. So he took her upstairs yesterday, and she wanted to find some of her mother's relatives and her father's relatives, because her father wasn't in her life. She knew him, but I guess he died a long time ago. And then she wanted him to look up cousins that she had heard about, and just different ones, And I guess she was up in the office with him for 2-3 hours. And it took her mind right off of her deceased son, my grandson. And to me, that is what you call grace. Grace, grace, grace. Triple grace. And that's the kind of thing that God leads people to do for other hurting people. And there are so many scenarios all through history of God and his people helping others. So I'm going to be sharing a few more testimonies today, because testimonies are like shots of the arm, and they just give you a boost. So my personal story of my greatest trial becoming my greatest asset story has to do with me going through a divorce after 30 years of marriage, and of God healing my broken heart and bringing joy into my life. So I'm not asking you to believe that it happened overnight. I got an itch over here. An itch, excuse me. So I'm not asking you to believe that it happened overnight, because Lord knows it did not happen. It was a long, dragged-out affair. But divorce is difficult even after a few years of marriage. But for a couple to have lived together for 30 years and then divorce is like physical death. Some of you can identify, because things like that happen nowadays a lot more than they used to. So when you are replaced within just a few weeks, it is more like first-degree murder. Of course, God is not going to heal that kind of pain in a few days or weeks. That would not even be healthy for anyone, to get healed of that kind of pain within a few weeks. And I learned that from my founding pastor many, many years ago. So how in the world could God build strength and character in a person if he did not perform a gradual healing in a circumstance like that? Yes, sometimes God heals diseases, and he heals cancers, and he heals broken arms. He heals things instantly. Like Jesus at Mount Calvary, when one of the apostles chopped off one of the ears of one of the soldiers, and Jesus just took it, placed his hand on it, and lovingly put it back on, and it was reattached. So God, yes, he does that kind of thing too. But in a case like I'm describing now, about 30 years, or even 5 years, he would not do it instantly, but gradually, because he has a purpose. So, for those who are going through anything like that now, please listen carefully. It's difficult to want to leave your house and to mingle with people early on, after the news hits you, or after you divorce, or after you lose somebody, let's say. But we're especially talking about divorce today. But after a period of time, it's healing to begin to mingle with friends. It's going to be hard, and you're going to have to do it really in obedience to God, to put one foot in front of the other and get yourself out of the house. And most want like an abracadabra type of rebound and healing, and That's just not going to happen. We'll even get away from that. So even though most people are looking for that kind of thing to happen, and that exercising any amount of patience seems like an impossible task, slow and steady is the only way. I was, and I am, from the old school. I went straight from high school to being a wife and a mother. The only job I had as a teenager was babysitting. Like, I didn't go out and work in a restaurant or anything like that when I was 16. And then I had 3 babies within 4 years, 3 baby boys. So I had a full-time job on my hands. Diapers, diapers, and more diapers. And we didn't have Pampers in those days. I had to wash them all by hand. I didn't even have a washing machine. So anyway, 7 years after that, I had another baby boy. So I had 4 babies. I lost a baby girl in between. And so I was quite busy even without a job on the outside. When they got a little bigger, I was very active in the community doing volunteer work. And I also harvested a huge garden to take us through the winter, the long Maine winters. And we lived way out in the woods, so we didn't have a lot of friends, except when I went to church. That was my kind of a fix. A fix, I hate to use that word, but it was wonderful on Sundays. Raising 4 teenage sons was not a piece of cake, believe me when I tell you. And when they were older, I think only one was a teenager before he went in the service, and the rest were in their 20s, is when my husband and I went through a divorce. And it was like living in a hell. It really was living like being in hell. And I could not have gone through it if God wasn't with me all the way. And you know what I'm talking about, people. His compassion, God's compassion, was so beautiful. I'm not saying it wasn't tough for my husband. It was tough on the both of us. So God's compassion was so beautiful. And he kept loving me up through my family and through my church family and my friends. They were just wonderful and so compassionate. So God would give me Bible verses that would build up my faith. And he would supply my needs, which were many. And he kept me. Let's go back to that word, kept. He doesn't throw us by the wayside. Even when we're going through stuff and we don't really want to look at him or pay too much attention to him because we're just lost in our sorrows, you know. God kept me, and he will keep you too. Deep down in my heart, the loneliness was constantly gnawing at me. Some of you know what that's like. You subconsciously try to cover up the pain, but it's there. But God never let any day be wasted. He just won't. He'll give you something from some source, but he will do something or say something or show you something. Through the years of going through my own heartache and watching my kids go through their heartaches, my faith and trust in God has grown. And I have become strong and able to face all the onslaughts of the enemy. And he's never let me down. And he won't let you down either. He will teach you, and when he comes through, even after a long period of time, you will begin to trust him more. So when you see him work in one situation and another situation comes along, then you will revert to the previous situation and know that God will come through in that situation, and then the one that follows that and ongoing. Today, all these years later, it's like 25 years later, I am so exceedingly happy, and I know that my greatest trial has become my greatest asset. So the trials have not stopped, and in fact, you know, many of you know that I almost died a couple of years ago, and God brought me through that. And most of you know that I have a very bad back and that my spine is at a 60-degree angle, and I have a hump on my back. It's getting worse, and I went for a bone scan last week, and the person who did the scan, I told her that I lost 6 inches. already. And she said that some people that she scans actually have lost over a foot. Well, that got me to thinking, my gosh, I'm a petite person anyway, and I already shrunk 6 inches. What would happen if I lose another 6 inches? I would be like a little dwarf. I think probably not a midget yet, but I would be a dwarf for sure. Not a bona fide dwarf, don't get me wrong, because they are born with different characteristics, of which I have none of those. But in height, I would be the size of a dwarf. So I have a choice to make. Well, one of the things that I'm doing is I'm taking the injections every day for a couple of years to try to prevent me from shrinking anymore. But other than that, there's nothing except Almighty God. So my other choice is, I'm not gonna. I could be very upset with it and dwell on it and hibernate, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna let it destroy me, and I'm not gonna let it disturb my happiness in the Lord. Because I would rather bask in God's presence and experience the living God than to give the devil a reason to dance. He's a loser, and I'm not going to contribute to his party. I won't do it. Going through difficult times is a time to broaden your horizons. I strongly recommend reading short Christian testimonies, and that will bring God into your world and revive your thinking, bringing to mind all the times that he has been there for you in your life. Here's that pen. And I'm going to share a couple of these right now. And I just want to make a correction here because I won't get back to it. Okay, thanks for your patience. I read this the other day, and I'm going to try to share it from memory. It was a story in one of the little magazines that I get about this wife who was a Christian all of her life, and her husband was in addition to his full-time job, he was into music. I don't know if he played in a band or he alone played an instrument, but she would ask him every Sunday if he wanted to go to church with her, and he would say no, that he was going to go out in the garage and play his music. So this one Sunday, out of the clear blue, when she asked him if he wanted to go to church, he said yes. She almost fell over backwards. So anyway, he went to church with her, and just before the service started, something happened with the sound system. And there were a couple of young fellas there trying to help the pastor out, but they couldn't fix it. So the husband of the lady took it upon himself to walk up there and to offer his assistance because he knew a lot about electronics. So he fixed the problem, and the pastor was so excited that he said to the man, "Boy, could I use somebody like you around here to help with this sound equipment." And ever since then, the man's been going to church every single Sunday morning. So that was pre-planned by God. That was totally God orchestrated. So ladies, if you're ever wondering if your husband's ever going to go to church with you, know that God can do it. It's not a problem for God. It's easy peasy. So don't give up praying. And it was like, why that Sunday and not any other Sunday? It's because God's timing is impeccable. That's why. Okay. Here's another one. There's one about the rainbow story. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get that one or not today. But the one about the friend request. This happens all the time. If you watch Long Lost Family and follow the adoption stories and follow the ancestry and people finding their biological families and all, you've seen them yourselves. But the one I just read yesterday was this lady who had no family. She was on Facebook, and she wasn't looking for a family or anything like that. She was just there, and she discovered some names, and I don't know exactly how it happened, but you kind of figure that out. But she saw this name, and she thought, gee, that name, it's like what my maiden name was or something to that effect. So somehow she got together with this other man on Facebook, and they went back and forth a couple of times. And come to find out, long story short, turned out to be a biological brother of hers. That her father had a relationship or something before he married her mother. And so this man had a big family of his own, which gave her not only a brother, but gave her, I guess, nieces and nephews. And she was ecstatic. She waited her whole life. And that is God's grace. That was a surprise from God. That was God's love and his compassion. He wanted to fulfill her, to give her what she had hoped for all of her life. And God does that over and over and over and over, unending his surprises and his blessings. And let's see, what's my next one? Let's see. Okay, I got time for a couple more. I may have shared this one a few years ago, but I moved around a lot following the Holy Spirit, and I won't get into that. People think I'm cuckoo, but that's okay. I have no problem making a fool of myself for Jesus Christ. None whatsoever. So one time I was looking for a rent here in the Mid-Coast, Maine, and kind of didn't want an apartment. I wanted to look for a small house, which they're very hard to come by. And I was exhausted from looking. I had looked for months, and I really needed to get out of my place because I was renting a winterized cottage, and the people needed me out of there for the summer people to come in. And I was exasperated from looking, and I couldn't find anything. So I was at work one day. I used to be CNA and then a home health aide, and so I was working for two elderly sisters, and one was in bed. She couldn't get out of bed. And off of her bedroom was really a bathroom, a glamorized bathroom, but there was like a reclining chair in there. The toilet was in one section. The other section was separate from the toilet. And it wasn't a great place to work. It was easy to get bored on that shift overnight. But anyway, I happened to be folding some clothes just for something to do, to be able to stay awake. So I was folding towels, and I went to put the folded towels in an inner closet off of that little room. And as I lifted up some towels to stick the other ones on the inside of there, for some reason I did it that way, there was a newspaper there. And I thought, well, good, that'll help me stay awake. I'll read the paper. So I took the paper and put the towels in, and I went and sat in the chair, and I looked up classifieds. And don't you think, it was a paper from the week before, one of the aides must have put it there. And don't you think that I found a winterized cottage listed, and I called and inquired about it the following afternoon. Don't you think I got the rent? I got the rent. Beautiful, precious little place, 6 houses from the water that led to the Atlantic. It was so perfect. I loved it. It was wonderful. And that was a gift to God for me. It was God's grace. It was God's blessing, just given from his heart of love. If I didn't fold those clothes, I would never have found that. I would never have gone in that closet. So that's another. And this one you're going to love. Wait to hear this one. It's about my friend, Pastor Ralph, who lives in the Philippines now with his wife and new family. So anyway, he used to live in Baltimore, and that's where, I guess I knew him before Baltimore, but I'm not sure. But anyway, we've been friends for 25, 30 years. So anyway, a few years ago, Pastor Ralph's little 7-year-old grandson passed away. He had some kind of physical and mental complications, and he passed away, the poor little thing. His name was Kenny. So, I'm trying to think. I guess the parents of the boy put it on Facebook, asking for prayer for the family. And then he put a couple of precious things in about the little boy. I had never met the little boy or his family. But anyway, the night that he passed away, this little Henny, God gave me a dream. It was totally supernatural because I never saw the little boy in my life. So God gave me a dream, and I private messaged my friend Pastor Ralph about this dream, and I'm going to read it to you verbatim how I shared it with him. Okay. I wrote, I had a fleeting dream after I fell asleep last night. I dreamt that little Kenny was in heaven, and God was giving him new heavenly clothes to wear. Kenny was so excited with his new body that he wouldn't let God put them on. He moved God's arm away, saying, I want to put them on myself. Isn't that a precious little dream? So Pastor Ralph responded. He wrote, ha, 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 ha. I can believe it. Anytime his parents or siblings tried to get him dressed, he pushed their arms away, saying, I want to do it myself. This is hysterical. So isn't that just like God? How could I conjure up something like that? No way, Jose. God gave me that to pass on to the little boy's grandfather. Spot on. Spot on. So I say all that to say, open up your ears to God's treasures. How many times have I said, put up your antennas? Purpose to open your ears, put up those antennas, seek out God's secret treasures because he has them for you, every single one of you. So with that, let's go into the Lord's Prayer before I get cut off like I did last week, okay? Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. And Lord, bless each person watching, each person who is having heartaches, physical pain, emotional pain, Father, divorce, sick children, sick elderly parents, Father, whoever has a need, God, fill voids in lives and fill their needs, Father, heal their pain, and bless them with secret treasures, enlarge their souls, Father, add to the storehouses in their souls, Father. Bless them. I'm asking you as a personal favor to bless each one. In Christ's name, amen. Thanks for watching. God bless you and God bless yours. God keep you and God keep yours. Till next time, bye-bye for now. Oh, I'm caught.